Buenos dias, mi amigos. My name is Jacob Stiefel, and this is my podcast, the Don't Stifle Me podcast. Now, from the last 8 years of being in the music business world or scene or whatever you want to call this, I really wanted to start documenting the interesting stories and the interesting people that I've met and continue to meet along the way. So that's what this is. That's what you stumbled upon in this journey of life that we're all living. Now, since this is my podcast and it's relatively new to the scene, I am the host, but I am also the sponsor. Now, unless one of you fine people out there would like to start sending me money to do this, I mean, that would be okay with me. But until then, I have CDs available on iTunes and other sites, along with I have merchandise and tour dates of my own, all up at jacobsstiefel.com. And I'm on all those social medias that you kids are doing these days. It's all at Jacob Stiefel. And there's the intro, there's the advertising, and now what we do is we cue the music.
Pick it up the piano.
It ain't dying I'm talking about, it's living.
Today's guest is Nicole Lake from Musicians on Call. Now, we go more in depth in the episode, but Musicians on Call, for those of you who don't know, is an organization who helps provide musical entertainment, relief, therapy, however you want to look at that, to hospital patients. And I'm a volunteer with them here in Nashville, and it's easily one of the greatest things that I've been able to be a part of in my life. So I was happy to sit down and talk with Nicole. Here we are in the office here talking about Musicians on Call and her path and getting involved with them and peanut butter and all kinds of important things. Somebody said, "What do you do?" And you said, "I work for Musicians on Call." And they said, "What is that?"
Well, our mission is to bring music to the bedsides of patients in healthcare facilities. And we have a couple different programs that are able to do that. The one that you participate in and are one of our valuable and talented volunteer musicians is our bedside performance program. So there are two volunteer roles. There's the volunteer musician, such as yourself, and a volunteer guide, which I often fill in for, who escorts the musician room to room. And, that's kind of the short and sweet bedside performance program. There's also Project Playback, which we just did here in Nashville, which is very exciting.
I don't even know if I know what that is.
Yeah, so it's something that we've done in the past, but we're trying to do more of currently in our current markets. And it's a songwriting project with the patients, which is really a cool experience.
Oh, yeah.
So that's Project Playback. And with that, we write the songs, but then also record them. And then we have a CD release party where we bring the patients back
cool.
into the hospital.
How does that work? How does it work with writing? How does it? Because I don't know about that one.
Yeah, we've done it a couple different ways. We've done it where it's with patients who are in like a long-term care facility. So there would be like a couple different writing sessions, so they have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
But the way we did it here recently was just one session where they brainstormed, wrote some notes down on paper, and then ended up recording by the end of the day. So that was just like a 2-hour project, which is really quick.
Yeah.
But
does the patient record also? Like sing along or something?
Yeah. We were working with kids this time. So some of the kids are a little shy or maybe a little too young.
Yeah.
But you can hear them on the tracks. And
that's cool.
Then some of the older ones were more interested in participating too. So it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long is that? Is that a newer thing?
It's a big undertaking, so we haven't done it in a couple years.
Yeah.
But we have done it in the past, so it's not necessarily new. Just kind of a refresh. And then the third program is our music pharmacy program, which previously was a CD pharmacy, but obviously CDs are a little irrelevant
Right,
now.
CD, what is that?
Yeah.
Is it like an 8-track?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Exactly. So we are refreshing that as well and calling it our 2.0 version with streaming services and tablets and things like that.
Yeah.
But it's where a hospital where we don't have a bedside performance program can submit a request to have a curated box of, in the past it was CDs, but now it'll be tablets with streaming services on them so that patients are able to still have music at the bedside even though it's not live.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So how many hospitals is Musicians on Call a part of?
Yeah, so we have a network of 58 hospital partners in 14 major markets, and we have 73 programs across the country. So we're growing very rapidly.
Yeah. So it is still just always adding new locations?
Yeah, we want to be a little strategic because as a nonprofit organization, there needs to be funding.
Right.
But we have our expansion goals mapped out through 2018. But as far as that's concerned, it's kind of planned in advance, and then we kind of have to see where we have the most interest and support.
Cool. Where are the do you know? Can you say where the newest ones are opening up? Do you know?
I'm not sure if I'm able to disclose that.
It's all right.
Yeah.
You can say, I can't say that. That's all good.
Okay.
So how long, I don't know if you said this or not yet, but when did it start?
Musicians on Call was founded in 1999 at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York City.
Cool. You just don't think about it because so many, like everybody's concerned with helping make people better and fixing whatever's wrong with them, health-wise, but you don't stop and think about how much of a difference just listening to music makes.
Yeah.
Until you see it or you hear firsthand what it's done. I remember, one of the main reasons I signed up was when I was 12, 14, something like that, I went and played for my grandfather who was in the hospital in Texas. And until he passed away, and even after, like my grandma and any of the nurses at the hospital, I saw all they talked about was how much that meant to him, because I went in and took my guitar and played for him, and everybody around could hear it.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing how much of a difference that makes just to lighten the spirits.
It's so true. And, aside from benefiting the patient directly, it's also just as much for the family and for the staff. And, they see some really tough things time and time again. And it's just nice to bring something for them to enjoy and lighten their mood too.
Yeah. Okay. So there's artists, there's volunteer artists and the volunteer guides, and kind of walk through the process. So for people, that don't know how it works, as far as like when we get there, if you were the guide and I was the musician, kind of explain what we do.
Yeah. So as a guide, I'm a hospital trained and badged volunteer. So I've not only gone through Musicians on Calls training, which the musicians need to do as well, but I've gone through the hospital's training. So I've gone to, their orientation. I've done a background check. I've done their quizzes. I've submitted immunization records and so on and so forth. And it's a lot that guides need to complete, but it's because we're entering a really sensitive environment, and they really need to vet the people that are coming in and making sure that they're healthy.
Yeah, for sure.
And that they're going to, behave appropriately in a sensitive environment. So as a badged volunteer, I also know the way around the facility and the specific unit that we're assigned to. So, we'll meet in the lobby, and then we'll head up to the unit where we are assigned for the day, and pretty much go room to room. So, I'll enter the room first while the musician will wait in the hallway and ask the patient if they'd like to hear music. And, the reason why that we ask the musicians to wait in the hallway is to really let the patient feel comfortable answering the question and not having
I'm really happy about that, because I would feel so... like the musician would feel nervous and the patient would feel nervous because there's that... rejection, maybe they just don't feel like listening to music, and it's nothing against the musician, but that's, one of the best parts about having the guide there.
Yeah, exactly. And, patients are poked and prodded all day and taken to doctor's appointments and, not really given much a choice in how their day proceeds. And to be able to decline something, we find to be empowering for them.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a good point too, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'll enter the room first and ask the patient if they'd like to hear music, and if the answer is yes, then I'll bring you in and you'll play one song in the room. Often there's a quick exchange of pleasantries and hi, how are you, nice to meet you, but we are very cautious of not spending too much time. One, because we want to visit as many people as possible.
Right.
But two, because if you're in the hospital, you're probably not feeling well, and you're probably not feeling up to having guests for an extended period of time. So that's just something we want to be conscious of as well.
Yeah, there's been several times when somebody's asked me to stay and play another song or whatever, and I have to just say, well, sorry, we can't, or I'll usually like play something as I'm walking out the door or something, like some exit music or something.
Yeah.
So we go in and then, sing a song and then move to the next room. And how often during the week, I mean, is there constantly someone at a hospital, or is it certain blocks of each day at different hospitals in the area?
Each hospital kind of has their own weekly time where we visit there. But it all depends. Most of our programs are Monday through Thursday, typically beginning around 5 or 5:30. Just because, one, patients have a lot of appointments and visitors during the day, but around dinner time is when things get a little quieter, and we want to make sure that they have visitor entertainment there. And then also for our volunteers, a lot of our guides have 9 to 5 jobs, so it's tough for them to get anywhere during the middle of the day. But most of our programs are within that time frame. And a typical visit usually lasts around 90 minutes. But, if we get a lot of yeses one day, it could be almost 2 hours. And if we get a lot of no's, it could be even shorter. So it all depends.
So can people go somewhere to look and see if the hospital that they go to, or maybe their dad's in a hospital and they don't know if it has musicians on call, can they go somewhere and check and see?
Yeah, I believe all of our hospital partners are listed on our website. And if not, we just did a large website overhaul in the last, couple months. So if they're not up there currently, they will be.
And I'll make sure and put it in the show notes, and we'll probably discuss it again, but that's musiciansoncall.org.
Correct. Yes, musiciansoncall.org.
I don't really get the whole, and it probably goes into some deep computer things that I don't, that I'll never understand, but like the whole .com, .org, it seems like there used to be just a couple, and now you see .audio and .this and .that, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I get into my ignorance, and
I have no idea either.
Yeah, and then that could go forever.
Yeah.
So they can check on the website and see the hospitals that have the programs. What do they do if the hospital that they go to is in Chattanooga, and then say, I don't know if they do or not, but say there's not one in Chattanooga, what could they do to go about requesting or?
Yeah. So since so much training goes into bringing volunteers into a hospital, it's really difficult for us to bring a program somewhere where we don't have an existing relationship or the funding that I mentioned earlier. So we don't currently have programs in Chattanooga, but obviously the ultimate goal is to have programs at every hospital across the country and the world. Yeah. But at this point, unfortunately, we're unable to support that. But as we mentioned earlier, just music in general is healing and helpful. And, we often recommend bringing their favorite songs or records or anything that they can to kind of just help complement the healing process.
Yeah, I was my dad had knee replacement surgery a few weeks ago in Huntsville. And I went down and spent 2 or 3 days with him because Mom was working. And I took my guitar down and took it in 1 or 2 of the days. And, of course, Dad was bragging to everybody that we talked to in the hallway. It was like, yeah, that's my son. He volunteers, the musicians on call, and just goes into this whole spiel, explaining to everybody that would listen about it. But his last day there, they had group therapy for everybody that had replacement surgeries. And I took it in and just kind of sat in the corner and just lightly played while they all did their exercises. And it's just amazing to watch. Just a little bit of playing, it just makes everybody, even the nurses and the doctors and everybody, just that much happier. And it's not just about being happy, but when you are happy and you're going about things, it just makes everything better. The way you treat people better, and that in turn makes the world better. As hippy dippy as that sounds, it's so true.
It's all about perspective too. You walk into a hospital on 2 able legs, and see someone who might not have that same fortune, and it's really eye-opening to see those things and be thankful for what you have.
For sure, yeah. As it might sound selfish, but every time I go volunteer, I leave feeling better, and just like you said, it's perspective. It just makes you appreciate that I can walk out and breathe the oxygen and go about my life.
Yeah.
So, tell me about Nicole. Where are you from? We're going to talk about you for a minute.
Well, this is the easy part.
Yeah.
I'm from New Jersey, southern New Jersey, from a really pretty shore town. And I don't know what else. I've spent most of my time in the Northeast. So I'm from New Jersey, went to college in Pennsylvania, and after graduation, I moved to New York City. And
when you were growing up, were you involved in music or charities or anything?
Yeah. Actually, my mom she has a music degree. I have a music degree as well.
Okay, cool.
But my mom has a performance degree in oboe, which is a reed instrument, kind of similar to the clarinet.
Like bigger, and it's got the weird shaped thing at the top of it that comes with like
the reed is actually exposed,
Okay.
so it looks like a clarinet, but instead of having the black part on the outside and the reed on the inside, it's just the reed, and it's like a really thin, like straw looking kind of reed.
I wonder if somebody wakes up one day when they're a kid and says, I want to play the oboe.
I think it's like a progression.
Yeah.
I don't know what you play first, because it's a hard instrument too.
You probably start on the little plastic recorder.
Probably.
And then you move to maybe the clarinet.
Yeah.
And then whatever. And then it kind of probably goes on from there.
That sounds like the logical sequence.
So were you
of
in the
events.
band or anything?
I played the flute in middle school. I was okay. But singing was more what I was involved in. And my mom also was the director of our church choir.
Nice.
So that's kind of where my love for music started. Singing in church under her direction, which was really fun. And then in high school, I stopped band and playing the flute, and started, getting pretty serious with choirs and choral activities. I was in like the All South Jersey Choir, and I did musicals. And then I did like a choir camp. I guess it was the summer going into my senior year of high school, and that was where I realized that I wanted to be involved in music kind of for the rest of my life, and that's how I realized I wanted to major in music and spend my college career surrounded by music. So that was kind of a really eye-opening experience for me.
Yeah, I remember because I sang some in church growing up and played in a gospel group in high school, and regardless of your religious thoughts or feelings or what you believe and what you don't believe, I've stood in a room with a bunch of people who were singing loudly and they believed in whatever they were singing. And I think that's probably where it first started hooking me, was just whatever you want to call it. Some people call it one thing, some people call it the other, but there's something about a room full of people feeling emotion and singing, and it's just that you can't even express and put into words. And so I definitely know where you're coming from there.
Yeah.
So that's when you knew that you wanted to have a future in music. So that was around the time before college?
Yeah. It was really, I can really pinpoint it to that experience, that choir camp.
Yeah.
And then that was when I, told my voice teacher at the time that I really wanted to apply to colleges and be a music major, and that requires auditions and so on and so forth. So
what's a music major? What is that? What do you like? Is that the name of it? Is it like a major in music?
Yeah. So I have a Bachelor of Music in vocal performance.
Nice. Very cool. So when did you start with Musicians on Call? Like get from college, music, you graduated, then what did you do?
After graduation, with a performance degree, I had a concentration in opera, and I sang in the opera performances in college. And the logical next step is to perform for a living. And I didn't really give that a try, but there was a very big part of me that kind of realized that wasn't the right move for me. So I moved to New York and took continuing education classes in music, and realized, this wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted, and really was challenged there, and maybe jaded by the New York. I don't know. It's just the way that things are run there and how intimidating it is.
Speed of life and attitude.
So I ended up getting an internship working for American Opera Projects, which is another nonprofit. And they work with living songwriters and composers that compose operas and classical works. And they help them get their works off the ground and acquire funding for their projects and casting and things like that. And I really enjoyed that. And I had kind of an introduction to grant writing and just kind of the inner workings of nonprofit life, and just realized how much I loved that. And then
so that started to pair the love of music with helping people.
Exactly.
So, exactly.
Right. And from there, I started applying to full-time jobs in the same vein. But because I had so much performance experience, I didn't really have work experience. So that was really tough. And
I don't know what I would do right now if some reason I couldn't be involved in music. I'd go, if I had to start applying for like real jobs and they said, well, we see that you have an engineering degree, but what have you been doing for the last 8 years of your life? You have no employer for 8 years. Well,
exactly.
So,
No, that's exactly where I was. And I just kind of had a panic attack, realizing like, how was I going to, I knew where the end goal was, but how was I going to get there? Because I had started sending applications and I just needed someone to interview me and take a chance on me and let me talk my way through how I deserve this and how I would be the best fit for this.
Yeah. It's that whole thing, like when somebody wants you to have experience, but you can't get experience until you get a chance to get experience doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the logical move was to just get a job, and I worked for an investment bank for almost a year, just doing administrative work, but I at least had experience on paper, even if it wasn't in the field that I was looking for. It was experience.
Yeah.
So then I was back on the routine of applying to anything and everything that was in the nonprofit world and had to do with music. And I was really discouraged and, had stopped getting excited about any of the organizations that I came across and, would put my everything into applying, but not really think much would come out of it.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the listing for Musicians on Call. It was an opening for assistant to the president. And I G-chatted it to my boyfriend and said, this is really perfect for me. And after I had said, I'm not going to get excited about something.
Yeah. How long ago was this?
This was 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I applied and didn't hear anything. And I sent a follow-up email probably a week later and immediately got a response back saying, we'd love to bring you in for an interview. And I, going to a good liberal arts school, did all my research and, looked up the organization, looked up the president's name and so on and so forth.
Right.
And I go into the interview and I'm meeting with the president, Pete Griffin. And the first thing he says to me, other than, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you, is, did you hear about that? And he points to like a pendant behind him, which has a big orange bee on it.
Yeah.
And it's an older version of our shared alma mater. So in that moment, I didn't really realize what it was. And then he was like, I went to Bucknell University too, right?
Same college. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's a couple years older than me. We didn't cross paths in school, but we had the same alma mater. And, like I said, I needed someone to take a chance on me.
Yeah, for sure.
And, when they saw Bucknell, they pulled my resume. And,
funny how life works like that.
It's history from there. Yeah. I was very, very lucky to cross paths with him.
So you started out as assistant to him?
I was Pete's assistant in the New York office, which is also where our headquarters are, for a year. And then he approached me saying that he wanted to make his move to Nashville and be located in our Nashville office.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you want to do? If you want to move, we'd love to have you. If you want to stay, we'll figure it out. We could do it remotely. And, I was, I don't know, how old am I now? I was 25. So I was like, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Nashville seems like a cool place, but I've never been. So I took a trip and I, did all the touristy things and really was like, I could find this place
Could live here
as
for
my
a little
home.
while.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. So did you stay his assistant when you came down here? Or when did you move? Like what? Yeah, okay, keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, that was the initial plan.
Yeah.
And then someone on our team had announced that she was leaving and looking to pursue a career in music therapy, which is a very logical choice from Musicians on Call. So everyone was very happy for her, and I saw an opportunity for me. And I kind of put together a little petition for myself and said, this is why I would be a good fit for this opportunity. And that ended up working out.
People with drive and aspirations.
Yeah.
It inspires me.
Yeah. It is scary to be like,
for sure.
I deserve this.
Yeah, and it's, especially when you're a humble, polite person, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say, hey, I'm a good worker and I deserve to have this spot. Yeah, for sure.
And I really took the time to, make an outline of like why I deserved this and why this was a good move for me, but a good move for Musicians on Call
there
too.
You go. Yeah, so, it's got to be a double benefit.
Yeah.
Cool. So you moved up to what position?
I was the manager of Southeast music programs. So I was overseeing all of our volunteers in the Southeast region, which includes Middle Tennessee, South Florida, and Atlanta.
So when you would correspond with me about my volunteer dates, were you doing that with like hundreds of other volunteers at the same time?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
You were a fantastic emailer then.
Thanks.
Because Nicole would email me back like immediately. I don't know anybody else that emails back that quickly.
9 times out of 10 when you and I were emailing was because you have been so great with filling in for programs. So I really needed a response. So I was
most people are at their jobs, during the day.
Yeah.
I'm one of those weird people that sitting here on the computer. So
hey, but you're doing great things. You don't need to.
I'm working on it. Yeah, just drive and aspiration over here. It's on this side of the table too.
Exactly.
So you were the Southeast coordinator, blah blah blah. Yeah, whatever
Yes.
the
that thing.
the great position that you said. But now you are
Now I'm the senior manager of music programs.
moving on up.
Moving on up.
Yeah. So you are about to move back to New York, right?
I am. Yeah. A week and 3 days.
I had to snag you up before you left town because
know.
I wanted to hear it from you. So what are you going to work up? Tell me what is that going to consist of?
So the promotion started back in January, and this role really could be anywhere. And it's overseeing our program team. So my previous role and the rest of our team members on that level across the country, and spearheading our national initiatives and projects that come up in existing markets. We have someone that oversees expansion exclusively, but I'm just kind of helping to maintain and organize our existing markets.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Well, say somebody's listening and says, that sounds great. I would love to, be where you were 3.5 years ago and they want to position some kind of spot. What would they need to do? Is there an application process or something?
For a job or to volunteer?
A job or volunteer or whatever. Say they want to start off being a volunteer and then maybe move from there.
Definitely. On our website, we list our application. And if you go to musiciansoncall.org/volunteer, it'll take you right to the application. The first page outlines the difference between the volunteer guide and the volunteer musician. So if you're on the fence like me, I have a musical background, but I'm not.
Did you ever sing or anything?
No, I haven't.
Other than when I'm playing Peaceful Easy Feeling and you're standing behind me singing
Harmonizing.
harmony. Yeah.
No, I don't play guitar, and I really need to learn and take lessons and take the initiative with that. But
well, you're not dead yet. You can do it.
I know.
You can learn.
I know. I need to. And it's all about taking the initiative in that first step.
I'm sure you have a few things on your plate. So.
Yeah. Yeah. But yes. So on our website, musiciansoncall.org/volunteer, we'll take you right to the application. And, we are so fortunate to have such an overwhelming amount of support from the Nashville community and some of our other larger communities that, it's led to a pretty lengthy waiting list, which is a good problem to have. But, with our forward thinking and vision planning, we certainly want to alleviate that length and make sure that we're able to get more people involved, especially in the areas where we have that interest. So
what are your biggest markets? Like, where do you have the most? Is Nashville where you have the most musicians and singers?
We have the most reliable volunteers in Nashville.
Yeah.
Some of our other markets are probably about the same size. I think Nashville and New York, and I think Philly is actually getting up there too.
Really?
Yeah. And then our programs in LA, we only have 3 hospital partners there, whereas in Nashville we have 9. So we just have a bigger reach here right now, which allows us to have more volunteers. But, Music City and the volunteer state,
sure.
It makes a lot of sense.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point. So do you have your eyes set on the next level up where you want to go from here? Or are you going to kind of try to get this under control first? Or what do you think?
Not quite yet. I'm still transitioning. I hired 2 new team members to our team. So that was a big priority when the year first started. And now we just have a lot of projects and travel for me mapped out through the rest of 2017 and into 2018 even, really. So
do you travel around to the different markets and do things?
Yeah, I was in Miami last week. I'll be in LA in 2 weeks, potentially Chicago after that.
I'll be in LA next week. No, 2 weeks. Actually, 2 weeks from today, I'll be in LA.
Oh, really? Wait.
The 15th and 16th. No, I'm sorry. No, I'll be there the 8th and 9th.
Oh, okay. I'll be there the 16th through 19th.
We'll just miss each other. I'll leave you a note somewhere. See if you can find it.
Yeah.
So we just talk about the 500,000, the $500,000 thing that just happened not long ago.
Yeah, we actually have a couple big milestones last year and this year. Last year, we crossed the threshold of reaching 500,000 patients, family, and caregivers across the country.
It's a lot of people.
Yes, it is a lot
awesome.
of people, and it's very exciting. So, we had a big campaign surrounding that, encouraging our volunteers and supporters to share their stories. It was branded as 500,000 moments, so you could share your favorite moment about volunteering with Musicians on Call or supporting Musicians on Call. And then this year is also our 10th anniversary of Musicians on Call in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
So that's super exciting, and we're going to have a big celebration event later in the fall, and lots of celebratory events leading up to that too.
Cool, very cool. So that gets the future thing. I was going to ask about that for anything coming up. Well, all right. Anything? What else? Anything else?
What else?
What's your favorite kind of peanut butter, crunchy or creamy?
Peanut butter. It depends on my mood. I kind of like both
Really?
of them. Yeah.
That's way too political of an answer. You're not going to offend me.
No.
Nobody out there really cares.
I know.
I might not even put this on the podcast. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm the least picky eater you'll ever meet. So I just like food. I don't really. My favorite snack though is definitely apple and peanut butter. And for that I use creamy.
Yeah. Good. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Mine's banana and peanut butter, but
that's good too.
The same alley.
I ran the rock and roll half marathon this past weekend.
Oh yeah.
And my go-to protein pre-race snack, breakfast, whatever you call it. My roommate introduced me to it, but it's toast and peanut butter and sliced bananas on top and a little bit of cinnamon.
Ah, yeah. Now we're talking. That's what I have almost every other morning.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
With eggs and bacon, of course. Can't not have eggs and bacon. Anyway, got me thinking about food now. So what's one of your favorite moments of Musicians on Call that you've had since you've been?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. One of the most heartbreaking, but also uplifting was we visit a live hospice here in Nashville where everyone has a prognosis of 6 months or less. And that in and of itself is really tough. And I was there leading around a musician, and I go in the room and I ask, the patient was non-responsive at the time. So there's a family member in the room, and in situations like that, we usually ask the family member if they think that the patient would appreciate hearing some music. And the sister of the patient said, yes, actually he was a musician himself, and I think he would certainly love to hear music.
Yeah.
So the musician starts playing, and as he starts playing, the patient starts to wake up a little bit, and the sister says, "Oh, let me get your harmonica for you." So she brings over the harmonica to the patient, and he is now sitting upright in his bed, playing harmonica and harmonizing with the musician.
That's awesome. That's so
great. You could put a period on that and be like, wow, that's just a beautiful story. But then some of the nursing staff comes into the room, and they peek around the corner, and they just start crying.
Yeah.
And she pulls me aside, and she says, we thought he was going to pass 30 minutes ago. His blood pressure was really low. His heart rate was dropping. We thought that it was his time. And
I just got goosebumps.
I know, I did too. And I was there. But we brought him back, and, not only for him, but for his family and for the staff. And, even if that was one of his last memories or last moments, like, it was definitely a happy one and definitely something that made a big impact. Well,
I don't know a better way to wrap up this conversation. It has not been a long one, but it's great. It's a fantastic thing that you are a part of. I'm so happy to be a part of it.
We're lucky to have you.
It's just great. It's just good people doing good things for people helping people. If once again, I've told you this before, but if I could ever do anything, whether it's playing music or moving concrete blocks, I'd do both of those well. Awesome. So, Nicole, thank you so much. musiciansoncall.org. Mm-hmm. And good luck in New York.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks to Nicole for coming by and talking. Thanks to all you beautiful people for listening. If you're interested in learning more about Musicians on Call or donating to them or maybe getting involved as a volunteer, definitely go check out musiciansoncall.org. And I'll have that info and more over on the show notes page at don'tstifleme.com/012. Now, this was a shorter episode this time around, but still interesting and informative, I thought. If you have any feedback or questions about today's episode or anything in general, you can email those to jacob@don'tstifleme.com. Now, the podcast social medias are all at DSM Podcast for Instagram and Twitter. Mine are at Jacob Stifle. And man, I just put new strings on my acoustic guitar, which is what you're hearing in the background right now. And there are just few things in life that sound as sweet as a freshly strung guitar. Just listen for a second. Oh, man. Anyway, my music and merchandise and tour dates for those of you interested can all be found at jacobstiefel.com. And that's that. I'll be right back here next week for episode 13 with my good buddy Travis Bettis. He is country singer Lee Bryce's longtime guitarist. And we had a good hang. It was a good long talk that you won't want to miss. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your week.